Hello and welcome to the RCSI Center for Positive Health Sciences International Women's Day webinar 2024. I'm Dr. Mary Collins. I'm a chartered psychologist and lead coach supervisor at the Center for Positive Health Sciences. Today, I have the privilege of facilitating this empowering webinar to celebrate International Women's Day. As we gather to celebrate the achievements of women worldwide and to embrace the theme of inspiring inclusion, we commemorate the importance of diversity and empowerment in all spheres of life. As part of our commitment to promoting diversity and inclusion, we are proud to announce the launch of the 2024 Women in Leadership Scholarship in collaboration with the 30% Club. This fully funded scholarship offers opportunities for aspiring female leaders to pursue the MSc in Positive Health Coaching and the Professional Diploma in Positive Health. If you wish to apply, please refer to the email you've recently received as it contains comprehensive details for your application process. Inspire Inclusion reminds us of the essential role diversity plays in achieving gender equality. It calls for action to break down barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create environments where all women are valued and respected. One crucial aspect of this theme is the promotion of diversity in leadership and decision-making positions. By championing inclusion, we unlock the full potential of diverse perspectives, leading to better decision-making and innovation. Education and awareness are pivotal in fostering inclusion and empowering women. Through mentorship, educational workshops, and advocacy campaigns, we can create opportunities for women to thrive and overcome obstacles. As we celebrate International Women's Day 2024, let us reaffirm our commitment to creating a world where all women are empowered, valued, and included. Together, let's work towards breaking down barriers and fostering diversity to build a more equitable and inclusive society for generations to come. Today, I am joined by Dr. Una Kennedy, consultant in emergency medicine at St. James's Hospital, Dublin, Dr. Jumi Okoya, Dean for the Office of Institutional Equity at the University of East London, and Professor Christian van Nuremberg, Professor of Coaching and Positive Psychology at the RCSI Center for Positive Health Sciences. Welcome to our panel members and thank you for being with us. So, our theme for International Women's Day 2024 is Inspiring Inclusion. And this is all about creating a sense of belonging, relevance, and empowerment for women in the workplace. So I'd like to turn to Jumi first. Jumi, what does inspiring inclusion mean to you?
Thank you, Mary. It's a pleasure to be one of your panel members today. That is an important question you just asked there, because as leaders, we have an important role to play in inspiring inclusion. And one of the ways to do this is to actually role model the kind of behaviors, actions, and the way that we show up. We're constantly on show for the people we manage, our colleagues, the way we interact. Living and breathing inclusion should be part and parcel of what we do. And in doing that, being mindful of what are the differences within your team or the people that you work with, such that that awareness of the diversity that is represented within your workplace, it allows you to kind of show curiosity towards wanting to know more about the uniqueness of individuals and groups, so that you're able to cater to their needs in a unique way that makes it possible for them to kind of flourish and achieve their best potential in the workplace. So that inspiration of inclusion is about believing in the ethos of inclusion, but actually bringing it to life in
Yes.
our interaction, in our everyday work. So it's kind of, baked into everything we do. It's not sprinkled on.
Yes, I love that, Jumi. Living and breathing inclusion and baking it in. I love that. And also what you said there around, showing curiosity, listening with curiosity to people who maybe are different to us. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn to Una next. Una, what does inspiring inclusion mean to you?
Thanks for having me today, Mary. I'm delighted to be part of the webinar. And I completely agree with what Jumi says about the importance of role modeling and being aware of our own behaviours and how that influences those around us and the ripple effect of our own actions on all of those around us and how that's reflected. But I think it's really important that we support other women in their development of their career and their advancements. And that's obviously the women who are at the same level of us as us, other leaders, but also more importantly, those who are coming up behind us. And it's, that we help to inspire them to be the best that they can be on their own journey, and be aware that we all have our own journey and we have our own story and we're all unique in how we develop in our career, and just to, in whatever way that we can enable those women and inspire them to be their best selves at work, and to build their confidence. I think women probably suffer a little bit from imposter syndrome more than men, and to encourage women and to when they do something well, to let them know that we think they've done a great job. Simple things at the end of a day, to say, well done, you did a great job today, just to build confidence, and just to be the leader that will inspire others, and reflect that good behavior, I think.
Yeah, that's great, Una. And I think that's so important as well. We might be thinking someone has done a good job, but to actually share that feedback
Yeah.
and be explicit about it and to support each other. Because, as you say, we do know from the research that women do experience more imposter syndrome in their careers. Um, Thank you. Okay, I'm going to get to Christian. What does inspiring inclusion mean to you, Christian?
Thank you so much for having me on the panel. It's just wonderful to be here. Talk about imposter syndrome. I think it's already very inclusive for you to have invited me to the panel, so I'm very grateful for that. And so inspiring inclusion for me, the perspective I bring is that today we are celebrating women and their achievements and promoting inclusion. And it's a topic for everyone. Men and people of all genders benefit greatly from the kind of inclusive environments that Jumi, Una, and yourself, Mary, have mentioned. So I guess that's my interest. It's about more inclusive organizations and more inclusive organizations and fairer societies. So that's my interest, and I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you, Christian. And again, we are delighted to have you involved, and we'll talk about that later, the important role of men in all of this. So let's focus in a little bit around career development for women. We wanted this particular webinar to focus in on women in leadership, women in the workplace, and the importance of career progression and successful career strategies for women. So, Jumi, can I turn to you, please? What advice would you have for early career women around successful career strategies?
Thank you, Mary. So in terms of career strategies, there are many, but one thing that always comes to the top list for me all the time is having these incremental bricklayer mentality in developing your career. So not assuming that you've got everything figured out, or how do I get to, becoming a director, just willingness to recognize that, one step at a time and doing the right things over the years, we, compound, and, you'll be on your way. It's a journey. So that's the first thing. It's a long journey, putting in that, hard work and the willingness and the right mindset to laying that one brick at a time and developing your career. That would be the first one, knowing that it's going to be a marathon, it's not going to be a sprint.
Mm.
Secondly is about embracing failure. So there will be moments, your career will almost always never be a linear, there would be, twists and turns, and just staying open and being flexible to opportunities as they show up, or even those that don't look flashy as opportunities, but that willingness to embrace the unknown and just, try it out. So seeing failure as not the opposite of success, but part of success. So if it doesn't go the way you expect it to, learn from it and continue. That's something that I believe, it's a very useful strategy to kind of, keep in mind, but also focusing on what you can control. What's within my control. I can continue to develop myself. I can continue to have these, growth mindset towards, expectation. But maybe opportunities within your organization may not be there for you. That's not something you can control. So work on yourself, work within, areas that you have control over. And finally, make sure you surround yourself with career sponsors. Who are those individuals who can sponsor you, who can highlight blind spot for you, who can, spot opportunities for you, connect you with the right people, and you can constantly learn from them. Those would be my top tips.
Great tips, Jumi. Thank you so much. Great wisdom there. And I love that, seeing failures as part of success. What can I learn from this? How can I grow from something that hasn't gone as well as you would have liked? Fantastic. And Una, over to you. What advice would you have for early career women?
I think if I was to give one piece of advice, it would be to get yourself a mentor. And for women, as you progress, to be a mentor to other women. There's lots of different ways you can pick a mentor for different reasons. If there's somewhere in a particular area that you would like to end up working, but find someone who you can relate to, someone who you can be yourself with, and can have very honest and authentic conversations with, and establish that relationship early, and work on that relationship over your career, over the period of your career.
Yeah, wonderful, Una. And I really like Professor David Clutterbuck's work on mentoring, and he talks about the ideal mentor is the chess move, a number of levels above and in a different division or department.
Yes.
And
yeah.
and I always, when I'm working with women in leadership, I'll always say, look for a mentor who perhaps has strengths in the areas you don't, or areas you want to grow and develop. Go for somebody maybe who's quite different, has a different style to you, where you can really maximize the learning and the opportunity. Wonderful. Thank you, Una, for sharing that. And we have spoken before around that concept, if you can't see it, you can't be it, and the importance of role modeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to say something on that, Una?
Well, I mean, that's it, isn't it? It's coming back to the point that Jimmy made at the very start, and the importance of role modeling, and just being aware of the influence that our own behaviors can have on those around us, and particularly those who perceive themselves to be more junior than us. And we are being watched in the workplace, and we just need to be aware of it. We do have a responsibility to those around us to role model good behavior, and to inspire that good behavior in our colleagues.
Yes, absolutely. Great. So I want to turn to Christian now, because it's really important that men are part of this conversation. Why do you believe that, Christian?
Yeah, thank you. I do believe that men and people of other genders have an important role to play in what we're working towards. And something you've just mentioned makes me want to, first of all, just acknowledge that the other members of the panel, that you are those role models. So I just wanted to appreciate and acknowledge that. As you know, I'm an executive coach, and it's a great privilege to coach women leaders. And one of the themes that I sometimes pick up is that there are few role models. So when they're looking around, and imagining their future as a female leader within a particular organization, sometimes there's that topic of I'm not able to see the kind of female leader that I would like to be. So I just wanted to endorse that view. I think for everybody else who is interested in supporting not just women, but fairness in our organizations, inclusive organizations where we really capitalize on difference and diversity and energy. For those people, I think the first message I have is not to think it's somebody else's problem. It's very easy to say, I'm not part of the problem, but it's not up to me to solve it. It's for that department or it's for women themselves. I really feel that we all have a shared responsibility. So that's point number one. And speaking from my experience, uh, uh, what can I do to support this really important cause? Well, two things popped up. One is demonstrating an interest in this and showing an openness to have conversations. So just being explicit about your support for what we're talking about, and then thinking about how do I make it clear to everybody that I'm open to talk about this in a non-judgmental and non-defensive way. Because imagine if people are talking to me about it and they're saying, part of the problem is men and how men are behaving. It's very easy for me to get defensive, to try and justify or try and solve something. So I guess step one is being open to listening and really hearing what people's experiences are, particularly women in the context of today. And the other is to offer support, because I think we should be offering mentoring as well. Now, it could be that women are saying, we want other women to mentor us, and which is perfectly acceptable. But I also think it's not appropriate to put the full weight of responsibility and add a huge additional workload of mentoring, early career women on top of very busy professional work lives. So I think men and people of other genders should also put themselves forward, and again, not get slighted or insulted or if they're not selected. But I think we should be in there saying we're available to support as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Christian. And can I just recognize the great work that Christian and Jumi have done around allyship? And we will make this available to people who are watching the webinar if you'd like to read some of that. But Jumi, would you just share for those of us who aren't familiar with allyship, what does it mean?
Yeah, Mary, allyship is a term that's become very popular in the last couple of years, and it speaks to the importance of inclusion, not only in the workplace, but in the society, and how can each of us recognize our responsibility or our roles in being an ally to someone that we may not even share anything in common with, and particularly showing that interest in whatever affects you indirectly affects me. I'm interested in things that makes you human, things that make you experience, life in a better way. And if I take it to the next level, being, leaders, how can you be an ally to the people that report to you, or even in the workplace? How can you ensure that the way you are showing up and the way you are interacting with people, you recognize their needs, or maybe practices that may be excluding certain groups or not giving them the intended outcomes? Can you be that person who champions or speaks up on behalf of, those groups in a way that you're active about it and not looking to get to score points, or just doing it for the purpose of representing, that marginalized group or individual?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Jumi, for explaining that. I think it's such an important topic, such an important area for us all to be aware of. And I'm going to come back to your earlier point around that curiosity and just that open-mindedness and non-judgmental approach. Yes. Okay, so I'm really keen to hear from each of you now around one practical tip you would have for anyone watching this webinar who really does want to support this theme of inspiring inclusion for women in the workplace. So, what's one practical way you would like to share with the people watching this? So, Una, can I go to you first, please?
Yeah, I think it comes back to my earlier point about being a mentor and getting a mentor. And so make yourself available to other women to be a mentor for them. And if you're a young woman, early career woman coming through, get a mentor early and work hard in the relationship. I mean, it's not going to just happen, and it is a two-way relationship, and it's an important relationship for the mentor as well as for the mentee, and it's very rewarding and a lot of fun to be a mentor for somebody, but both sides need to work at it. So I would get a mentor early, and invest in that relationship because it's a precious one.
Wonderful. Thank you, Una. And I think, ask somebody to be your mentor. Most people are just delighted to be asked. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
not to be afraid to ask for a mentor. So I love that. Get a mentor and be a mentor. Fantastic. Okay. Christian, can I go to you next, please?
Yes, thank you very much. Great advice. I think coming back to the role of the ally, my piece of advice is be an ally. And what that means is notice unfair processes, notice misogyny, notice exclusionary policies and practices. That's step one. And step two is speak up, talk about that. Now, Jumi actually wrote about this in the article we mentioned, but there's two ways to do that. One is to speak up in the moment and highlight something that seems to be unfair or discriminatory. The other is to take a person aside. That's the idea of calling people in, but notice and speak up.
Notice and speak up. Wonderful. Thank you, Christian. And Jumi, what's your one practical piece of advice?
Thank you. It's going to be a bit lengthy, but I'll get there. Now, my advice is remember that your behavior is always contributing to the culture of where you are. Is your behavior contributing to the culture in an empowering way, or is it creating an exclusionary environment? So keeping in mind that a pattern of thoughts or behavior, if repeated over time, becomes a habit. A pattern of thought or behavior within the team, if continued repeatedly, becomes the norm within the team. And a collection of norms within an organization then becomes the culture. So what are you repeating? What behavior are you repeating within your team? How are you showing up as an individual? What behavior, what thought pattern, what mindset are you bringing to the workplace? So remembering that each of us have a responsibility and a role in creating an inclusive culture. So in order to inspire culture, inspire inclusion, you start with yourself. That will be my advice.
Wonderful, Jumi. That is very sage advice. Start with yourself. And I really like the point you make around behaviors becoming habits, becoming the norm of what's acceptable. And to Christian's point, it is about challenging those behaviors and calling them out. And finally, just from my side, I've been very privileged to work for the last 9 years on behalf of RCSI with women in leadership in the Middle East. And I'm always struck by the fact that so many of our challenges are borderless. And the one piece of advice I would give people watching this is to really focus on building your transferable skills. Any opportunity for leadership to step into that space, no matter how small it is, and it can be in your work life, in your personal life, but to really build your transferable skills. and get out of your comfort zone and step into that position of influence, even if you do feel a little bit like an imposter at the start, to challenge that imposter syndrome and build your self-confidence at every step. So, with that in mind, I would just like to express my deep appreciation and gratitude to our panel members today, to Una, to Jumi, and to Christian. I do hope that everyone watching, that this has ignited one or two thoughts, reflections, and practical actions for you to inspire inclusion in your own personal context. So thank you all so much, and we will follow up with you all with those readings we mentioned. Thank you.